The problem with most pasta meal preps isn't how it tastes the day you make it, it's how bad it tastes 2 to 3 days later. So let's fix it. This isn't one of those pasta meal preps that turns into soup with overcooked pasta by day 3. We are making a Cajun-style pasta that's not just good on days 2, 3, 4, and 5, it actually gets better as the week goes on. I know, it's groundbreaking stuff. Now we're gonna start by building the seasoning blend for our chicken, which you don't actually have to do. You can absolutely just use a pre-made seasoning blend. Sloppy Mama's my favorite. No affiliation, it's pretty good though. But it's a little on the spicy side and I wanted something a little more mild. And I also wanna give you the option to make it at home. So if you do wanna make it from scratch, combine a tablespoon of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons onion powder, 1.5 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, and you can go less with this if you don't want any spice at all, but it's up to you. 2 teaspoons of dried oregano, and 2 teaspoons of dried thyme. And then we can just carefully whisk that all together without spilling much of it. Next up, we'll prep all of our veggies, starting by slicing a very large yellow onion in half, taking half of it, putting it over there for something else. I don't know what yet, but something. And then we'll just go ahead and cut the tip off, peel back the skin, and we'll just cut this into a nice fine dice. And we want this to be relatively fine because it's just gonna melt away into our sauce. Then we can just scoot all of those over, and we'll roughly chop about 5 cloves of garlic to also melt away into our sauce. Dude, the onion juices are getting me. It sucks. It truly sucks. Damn it. And then we can just move all of our onions and our garlic into a nice little bowl. And now for vegetables we don't want to disappear into our sauce, bell peppers. Starting with a red one, we're just gonna cut the tip off and the butt off, and then we'll slide it down and rip out all the guts. Then we can just flip it over, and we'll go ahead and cut these into thin strips. You're looking for about like a 1/4 inch thick, but honestly, it's really just personal preference, and you really just want them to be all roughly the same size. Then we can just scoot those over and repeat with our green onion. Nope, not a green onion, our green bell pepper. And then don't forget the top, pop out the root, not the root, the stem, and you can slice those up as well because we don't want to be wasteful, and the butt too. And then we can just move all of those over to a separate bowl. And then last up for us to chop up is just a little bit of some curly parsley, or you could do some regular Italian parsley, really personal preference. Removing just a little bit of the leaves, about not even really a 1/4, it's like less than a 1/4, but I don't know how to like look at something and be like, that's an 1/8. I should know that, but I don't. So like this much as you can fit in your hand. That's a good measurement. And we're just gonna roughly chop that until it's nice and fine. Also, make sure you wash your parsley because certain people that don't wash their herbs, that's gross. You should always wash them. It's really gross. And then we can just move that over to our final and separate bowl. It's not our final bowl, just our final bowl for this stuff. So, and I also just wanted to say, if you're not already subscribed, it'd be really nice if you did. You could also like and comment too, that'd be great, but really, subscription helps a ton. Now we're gonna be making 2 meats today, our seasoned chicken, as well as some smoked andouille sausage. And for that, we're just gonna start by painstakingly opening about 12 ounces of andouille sausage. That was appealing. And we're just gonna go ahead and cut these down the center, then cut those in half again, and give those a nice dice. This isn't gonna be the big heavy hitter meat in our pasta. It's just gonna be a nice little extra thing that you find while you're eating your pasta and you're like, oh, that was nice. I wasn't expecting that. Because as Michael Scott would say, there's nothing people love more than a surprise sausage. And now once all that is chopped up, we're gonna move it to a bowl and set it, you'll never guess, to the side. And now for our chicken. I went to the store today looking for chicken breasts. Unfortunately, all they had were these thinly sliced chicken breast fillets, which ironically was kind of better because the other option was taking our chicken breast and flattening it out. So this kind of saves us some of the work. But what you're looking for is about 2 chicken breasts worth, or in my case, 4 fillets worth. But the reason that we want these thin is for 2 reasons. The first being they cook fast, the second being they cook evenly. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for speed and we're looking for even cooking. You don't want to overcook these and you have dry chicken the rest of the week. That would suck. You want nice, juicy, moist chicken the rest of the week. Moist. Now the first thing we're gonna want to do is drizzle all of our chicken with a little bit of olive oil just to help bind our seasoning to it so it sticks well and we get a nice even coating. And then once those are evenly coated, we're gonna go ahead and use our seasoning blend that we made earlier, or wanted to use that pre-made seasoning blend, and we're gonna equally disperse it all over our chicken. And if you're using a pre-made seasoning blend, it's like roughly 4 tablespoons worth, but it's seasoning, so just make sure your chicken is fully covered. The goal here is you just don't want to see any exposed chicken. The goal here is you just don't want to see any exposed chicken. And once you have that all fully covered, because we did not add salt into our seasoning blend, we're gonna go ahead and salt it now. But if you're using that pre-made seasoning blend, go ahead and double check before you add salt to see if it has salt and pepper already in it. Ours obviously did not because we didn't add it. Make sure we get both sides. And then of course you can't forget your black pepper. But you know what I'm realizing I did forget? White pepper. I wanted to add white pepper. I did not add white pepper initially. If you're seeing this now and have not made your spice blend yet, go ahead and add in a ½ teaspoon of white pepper. And then now we can just set these to the side until we're ready to cook. And now it's time to cook. But first, we're gonna fill a large pot with water because we're gonna need that to boil our pasta. And that's gonna take forever to come to a boil. How's it going? What's going on? How's your week been? Anything new? Any plans for Valentine's Day? Something special? Just you and a friend, you and a partner, whatever, you know? Maybe just stay in, make some pasta. It's an option. And we'll just set that to boil. Now we're gonna cook our sausage and bell peppers at the same time. And for that, we're gonna bring our heat up to about medium-high heat. We want this because our sausage is already cooked. We're really just looking to get a good sear and to kind of heat it all the way through. And our bell peppers, we really just wanna get a good punch on them. We don't wanna make them all soft and nothingness. We want them to still have a little crisp to them. And now that we're adequately preheated, we're gonna go ahead and drizzle in just a little bit of olive oil. Our sausage has a lot of fat in it already, but I just wanna make sure that we're not getting any initial stick that we're not going to like later on. So we can go ahead and drop that in and spread that out into one thin, even layer so we're getting maximum contact on all of our pieces. And then after a couple minutes on that first side, we're just gonna go ahead and scrape the bottom, flip it all up, and you'll see that a lot of those pieces have now developed a really nice sear on the bottom of it. And then after giving these a toss for about another minute, we're gonna go ahead and add in all of our bell peppers, and we just wanna start folding all that together. And now at this point, remember, we don't wanna cook down our bell peppers until they're completely soft. We do want them to be a little loose, but still have a nice crunch to it. And now after about 4 to 5 minutes of just relatively constant stirring, our bell peppers have a nice little bit of char on them, and they've started to soften up. So we can go ahead and remove everything into a bowl. This is not the best means for removing, but I don't want to wash another utensil. And now we can go ahead and move on to our chicken. Now for this, we want to go ahead and drop our heat down just a tad. We don't want it as high as that was because this stuff is really already cooked. This needs to cook through. So we're looking at like medium, just short of medium high, but like, you know. And then once it's adequately preheated, we're just gonna go ahead and drizzle in a little bit more olive oil. There's still a good amount of fat from our sausage in there, but we really wanna make sure that we're getting a nice layer in between so none of our chicken sticks and burns and gets gross. Because we're gonna end up making our sauce inside this pan, and we want all those flavors to be in there and not to be ruined by burntness. So carefully lay in each of your chicken pieces, making sure not to overcrowd your pan. You may need to do this in 2 batches. I'm gonna do mine in 2 batches. There's nothing wrong with that. And then after about 3 minutes on that first side, they should be able to just easily lift and remove, and we can flip over to the opposite side and let those cook for another 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll check it from there. And then after another 3 minutes, my pieces are not quite done yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and give them one more flip, and then that final 3 minutes should go ahead and finish cooking them all the way through. And it may be different for you because your chicken pieces might be a little thicker or a little thinner than mine, so definitely check yours and watch it as it cooks. There's not necessarily a set amount of time. You just wanna do this until it's cooked. And after that final flip, our chicken is now fully cooked, so we're gonna go ahead and remove it and repeat with the rest of our chicken. And now that all of our chicken is cooked, we're gonna start building our sauce, which starts with a nice drizzle of olive oil, and then in with our onions and garlic. And then in addition to our onions and garlic, we're gonna wanna add in our spices, just so that way they toast. We're not really getting a raw spice throughout our sauce. 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, ½ a teaspoon onion powder, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, and 1 teaspoon of red chili flakes. Red pepper chili flakes. Alternatively, you can also just use a pre-made spice blend. You can use a Cajun spice blend, that works just fine, but honestly, whatever works best for you. Now, because we have garlic in here, we wanna make sure we keep this moving because we do not want any of that to burn. That burning is gonna ruin everything, and then we'll be sad. So we just wanna keep this moving and cook this down for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then after that 3 to 4 minutes, or once your onions and garlic are starting to get fragrant, we're gonna go ahead and add in our whole peeled tomatoes. I have 2 28-ounce cans of whole peeled tomatoes. I'm just gonna take the tops off and dump them right in, juice and all. And of course, I'm using my absolute favorite can opener. And then once you have all that dumped in there, it's gonna look a little bit watery, and that's really okay. We're gonna cook all of it down anyways. So now we're gonna bring our heat down to a nice simmer, and we're just gonna go ahead and crush up all these tomatoes as really as fine as you want them. You honestly could go through and just blend it all if you wanted to, or if you want bigger chunks of tomatoes, go with bigger chunks. This is more personal preference thing. But for me personally, and what I mean by personally, I mean what my wife really enjoys, is nice little chunks of tomatoes. So we're gonna do that. And I also probably should mention this before I put the tomatoes in, but if you're someone who doesn't like the seeds in your tomato sauce, then you're gonna wanna go ahead and push all those tomatoes through a fine mesh strainer to just get all those seeds out. That said, you're gonna end up with less chunks and more like a puree, but you can do that if you wanna remove some of those seeds. It's just a lot of work to remove the seeds, and like I just don't think it's worth it, personally, it's my opinion. And then once you have all those tomatoes broken down to the degree of which you prefer, we're gonna go ahead and bring this to a very, very light simmer, because if you've ever cooked tomato sauce before, you know Any sort of aggressive simmer is just gonna result in this catastrophe all over my countertop. So light simmer. You're just looking for it to bubble a little bit because you want all that excess water in our sauce to evaporate so we can start to really thicken up. This is why I absolutely despise making red sauce because it just goes everywhere. I'm really curious to see if my shirt makes it out of this unscathed because typically they don't, but we'll see. And now that we've let this erupt all over our countertop for about 15 minutes, most of that excess moisture has evaporated and we can go ahead and finish it up. A half cup of heavy cream, 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, about a 1/4 cup of grated Parmigiano Reggiano, and then last but not least, we're gonna go ahead and tear in a few pieces of fresh basil. Yep, that's basil. There's a mint plant over there as well, so I was just making sure. That could have been bad, or it could have been good, I'm not totally sure. And then we'll just carefully fold all this together. And then once all that is fully incorporated, we're gonna go ahead and add in our sausage and bell peppers and mix that all together very carefully because we used a pan that is not the appropriate size. And then once all that's fully incorporated for a couple of minutes, we can go ahead and taste and adjust for salt. A little bit of salt. The reason we want to wait until after all of that, because that sausage also has a lot of salt in it, as well as the cheese. And we don't want to salt too early and then over salt, and then we're screwed. A little black pepper, give that another taste. It's hot, temperature's very hot, but it's good. So now we can go ahead and remove this from the heat and let it chill while we cook our pasta. Not chill as in like cool down. We still want it to be warm. We just gonna hang out chill. Not the chill as in like the hang out chill. Or not chill like the get cold chill. Chill like the hang out chill, like the cool thing. Coolness. Slang words. Seriously, this is an absolute freaking mess. Every time. Now with the water that we set to boil earlier, obviously we want to make sure that it's boiling. Then we're going to add a couple generous pinches of salt. And before we put our pasta in, I want to explain why we chose the pasta that we did. Today we're using 2 pounds of penne pasta. And the reason being is that with something like a penne or even a rotini, there's a little bit more structure there. Granted, on a rotini, it gets thinner at the edges, but still like in the center, it's pretty strong. I would recommend going with something like a penne because it's going to be stronger, it's going to hold up better, it's going to reheat better, and you're not going to end up with mushy pasta that makes you sad. And the other thing that's going to help us make sure we don't end up with mushy pasta is we're not going to cook this all the way till it's mushy. We're going to cook it just barely to al dente. It's going to still have a little bit of bite left, but that's okay because even if you're going to eat it today or tomorrow, it's going to cook a little bit more in that sauce. And then as that sauce cools in your refrigerator, as it cools together, your pasta's going to harden a little bit. And then when you reheat it up, it's going to cook it out perfectly so you don't end up with mushy, gross pasta. And because we are making such a large amount of pasta, we want to make sure that we are stirring it fairly periodically to make sure that nothing is sticking together. But other than that, more or less, just a waiting game. This is Jack. He's a local high school student who's shadowing me for the day. What's up? Anything to say?
Mr. Broncar, Mr. Boone, I think I should get A.
You hear that? I also think you should get an A. Comment down below if you think that Jack should get an A. And now our pasta cooked for just about 12 minutes and it is right at al dente. We're gonna go ahead and remove a good amount of pasta water. Then we'll very carefully strain this over the sink. Don't forget to lean over the steam for a free facial. That's value. Now we can dump that strained pasta back into our pot with our heat off. Then we're just gonna pour in our sauce, making sure to scrape the edges because, you know, you made it, don't waste it. And then we're gonna carefully just fold all of this together until it's nice and incorporated. And pour in a little bit of our pasta water just to help with our sauce sticking to our pasta. And then we'll just sprinkle in that chopped up parsley from earlier. And then all we need to do from here is just pack it all up. Our meal prep container, a couple scoops of our pasta, some of that Cajun-style chicken, and we'll finish it off with some freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you learned something. Here's a photo of me at the Grammys. I don't know why I'm there either, and I'll see you next week.